Hello, Facebook Live and Joslyn fans. This is episode 103.2 of the Joslyn Variety Show. You guys know we had a little technical difficulties earlier today, so instead of recording this live, I am doing it via Zoom, and then I will upload it to YouTube so that y'all can still get a chance to check it out. So, what we are going to talk about today is how to use Ancestry.com. So, this is a really great tool if you're trying to build a family's tree or research your family history, or just organize a bunch of data that you have about your family that you would like all in one place. So I am going to show you very briefly what my family tree looks like, and then we will start on how to build a family tree. So I am going to go to a screen share mode so you guys can see what I'm looking at. All right, so this is the Ancestry.com homepage. So this is where you will log in. So I happen to already have a login because my wife is a big genealogist. So we are going to sign in with that login. And then when you get here, you're going to see something like this. So this will look different if you haven't started your account yet, but because we do have an established account, you'll see here under trees, there's a couple different trees that we're working on. And then this is the most recent tree that we're working on. You can find a very easy search access right here that'll take you different places. And then Ancestry will tell you who they're partnering with. So for instance, you can find card catalogs up here in the corner, birth and marriage and death records, census records, immigration records, military collections are valuable. You've even got things about like yearbooks and uh, newspaper articles, all of that available as well. There we go, newspaper articles and things like that. So what we're going to do, I'll show you first what one of my family trees looks like so that you'll see kind of an idea of what a tree looks like as you build it. I'm going to show you, so this right here, Grandma Nina down here at the bottom is my great-grandmother. So there's more to this tree if I were to scroll down, but for privacy reasons, I'll just show you guys all of the non-living relatives because hopefully they won't mind. But this is my Grandma Nina right here and my Grandpa Cecil. And you can see that he was born in 1911, she was born in 1915. And this is the Conway tree for the most part. So this is her parents right here. So you'll notice this is her father, so my great-great-grandfather and my great-great-grandmother, William and Cora. You can see that Nina had 3 siblings. Got May right here, Harold here, and Delilah here. And then as we go up, because we're tracing that Conway line, you'll see that this line right here attaches to his parents, who are John and Mary, and that we have potential parents on John's side. And on Mary's side, we've already determined that her parents were Thomas and Maria. And this would be my great, 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 great grandparents. So the reason that we have a potential mother and a potential father here for John Conway is that Ancestry thinks they know who his parents are, but they're not going to add them to this family tree until I go in and verify that yes, those people are John Wesley Conway's parents, and I will manually add them at that point after double checking all the records and making sure that it really does belong to him. And that's why you see these little leaves pop up. So these leaves, these little green guys, are hints. It's going to say that Ancestry thinks it has either a record attached to John, or maybe a photograph of John, or another ancestor of John's. And it's telling me to go and check those out because Ancestry thankfully does a lot of the work for you. It does a lot of the research for you. So this is what at least my grandmother's, so it's my dad's mom's mom right here. This is what her side of the family tree looks like. But of course, that's just one of my great-grandparents' trees. And if we were to look at Cecil Spalding, who is my great-grandfather's tree, you'll see his little tree right here. His will look completely different. And Cora Cook's, because she is not a Conway, hers is going to look totally different. So you can see how a tree branches and grows very, very quickly based on what you've got going on. So let's take a moment. We are going to go and build a tree. And because we're going to go up here to trees, we're going to create and manage trees. And we are going to create a new tree. So I'm going to click on this button right here. And all we have to do is start with one person. So maybe you want to start with you, or you want to start with your parents. But usually you is a pretty good place to start, because from you can add your kids and your grandkids or your great grandkids from there. You just need one basic place to start. So let's go ahead and start someone. It's asking me if I'm going to start with myself, but I'm not, because, privacy reasons. Maybe my family doesn't want their business all out there for you crazy Joslyn members to see. So because I was over at a park in Rancho Mirage the other day, we are going to make a family tree for Frank Sinatra. So his birth name was Francis Albert Sinatra. He is male and currently deceased, so we'll leave that set. His birthday, and you have to pay attention to Ancestry, how they want the birth date laid out. So in this case, they want day, month, year. His birthday, and I've got a cheat sheet here, so forgive me while I use that. His oops, I just told you guys that I did the wrong thing. His birthday is 12 December 1915, and he was born in Hoboken. And maybe you're learning things today. So Ancestry will typically offer you the full spelling of a birthplace, which is good. If you want to use that where you can, because that's the most searchable option. And then he passed away on 14 May, and that was in 1998. And we happen to know that his death place was Hollywood. But because I don't see it pop, let's talk about the type. Hollywood, Los Angeles, California. There we go. That's the one that they want. And if you don't know any of this information, that's okay. You don't have to have all of it to get started. The only things you need are the ones with the check marks. So you need a first name and a last name, their gender, whether they're living or deceased, and a birthday and a death date. And if you don't have the exact birth date, you can do just the year or the date. Just get as close as you can. So then we're going to tell it continue. So there he is. He's the very beginning of our tree. So it's asking us if we want to add his spouse, which we could, but he had like 5. So we'll skip that for the moment and do the easier part, which would be to add his father and mother. So Frank Sinatra's father, and we'll do his full. So a lot of immigrants, especially, you'll find Americanize their names once they get to the U.S., but we're going to type in his birth name, which is going to be the one in most of his records. For instance, if he had military service or something like that, or immigration records, it would have his birth name. And Frank Sinatra's father's birth name is Saverio Antonino Martino Sinatra, but he went by Anthony Martin Sinatra when he moved to the U.S. But we're going to put Saverio Antonino Martino, and then last name Sinatra, so that was right. I didn't have to change that. He is a deceased male as well, and his birth date was 4 May 1892. And according to Wikipedia, which is not honestly a great source, so try to use better sources than Wikipedia, and we'll talk about sources in a minute. But he was born here in Sicily, in Italy. Oops. Let's make sure that formats correctly, because otherwise that may not turn out well. Here we go. So his death date, he passed away on the 24th of January, and that was in 1969. There we go. And then he passed in Houston, Texas. So we're going to save him too. And we are going to name this the Sinatra family tree because that's easy enough. This is asking me if I want to allow other people to view the tree. And if I was building a tree for myself, I would at this point decide whether I want other people to be able to connect to my tree. So maybe potential relatives or people who are researching for my relatives. In this case, I don't want anybody to find me. I want to be a little bit private, under the radar. I'm going to unclick that. But it does let me know that people who are living are hidden. So that means, like, if you were to look at my family tree, you would only be able to see my relatives who have passed away. You wouldn't be able to see, for instance, my siblings or my parents or my grandparents because they're still living. And that allows them some anonymity and the chance at some privacy. So we're going to go ahead and save this as a Sinatra family tree. Save tree. I'll give it a second there. All right, so now we can decide how we want to view this tree. I like it in this view, but you also have the pedigree view, which is this one right here, and this will branch out to the side. But I prefer the other view, which is family view, because you can see siblings. Like how I showed you my family tree earlier, and we are looking at William here. I like that we can see all of William's siblings. But it makes it a much larger tree with more branches. If you're looking at just here, actually, I think I can show you guys this one, but I'll still try to be a little anonymous. There we go. If we're looking at it this way, you can still see spouse and children. You'll just want to open that and close it as you decide to. And then it's going to keep branching out to the right instead of to the left. So let's go back over to Frank. So look, we already have some hints. So let's go look at what Ancestry wants us to see for Frank. There's 38 hints, which, because he is a famous person and well researched, 38 is going to be much larger than what you might typically see on one of your ancestors or one of your family members, because they may not be as well researched as a famous person. But let's see what they have. So Ancestry is telling me that there are photos available of Frank Sinatra, and there may be photos of your ancestors out there. I know that I found a lot of my family's photos on Ancestry because other family members had them and uploaded them. And you can also decide, if you upload a photo that you happen to have in your records of a family member, you can decide whether you want other people to view that or not, or if you want to keep it personal for yourself. That's a choice that you get to make. But let's skip the photos because we all know there's photos out there. Let's look at the important stuff, which would be verified sources. And you want, let me switch over to my thing here. You want all of your primary sources to be either public records or physical documents. So things like birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates, those can be primary sources. So can census or social security applications, US records, all of those that are very well documented, that are official documents, those can be primary sources if you're adding somebody to your tree. But if you're maybe using somebody else's tree to help build your own, that's considered a secondary source, because you don't know how well researched that other person's tree might be. They may have done a great job and attached a bunch of primary sources to their tree, but you want to go in and verify that all of those primary sources do apply to your ancestor before you add them to your tree. Just because, sometimes people make mistakes, and there are probably 100 people named Frank Sinatra. They're not famous, but they exist in public record, and you want to make sure that you have the right one when you go looking for them. So these are the things. Let's look at this one. So this is a Social Security application from 1936. Let's go ahead and review it. This says that Frank Sinatra, a white male who was born on 12 December, and we know that that is the birthday of our Frank Sinatra, so this is a pretty good start. He was born in Hoboken, which we also know is correct according to our research, and that he passed away on May 15th. So our research said he passed away on May 14th, but that could be legit. It's got a father as Anthony and a mother as Natalie, and those are both correct. This is the Americanized version of his father's name, and this even gives his social security number. And I'm going to go ahead and say yes, this Frank Sinatra does match the person in our tree. So now that that is here, we can add it to the information that we already had in our tree. So if we scroll down, we can say that Frank Albert Sinatra is a different name. Yes, it's also the name he went by, so we can change it if we want to. I'm going to leave it as his birth name, but it's got his birthplace. It says Hoboken, New Jersey is different. Technically, it's not. This one's the more expanded version, so we're going to leave that. This one does list a different death date, and it's very possible that I put in the wrong death date and that the Social Security application is correct. So we're going to go ahead and change it. So I'm going to put in the preferred death date as the one that is on record, and then the place we're going to leave. So because we only added Anthony as his father, we didn't add Natalie yet as his mother. Ancestry is asking if we want to go ahead and do that now because she's listed as his mother in this document. So I'm going to say yes. Let's go ahead and add Natalie. So let's save that to our tree and then see how it changes it. There we go. So if we go up to our Sinatra family tree, we're going to view our tree. Oh, and there we go. We've got two parents now, Natalie and what did he went by Antonino. But we've got both his parents here, and Ancestry now thinks it knows who at least three of his grandparents are. So if we wanted to keep going down that rabbit hole, we can. But let's look at something else really quick. So I want to show you this a neat layout that Ancestry does. You've got the life story option, which kind of tells his story. So he was born on this date. He was the son of these two folks. He died on this date. No known children is only because we haven't added them. We do know that he has children and we can take the time to put them in. But it'll give you his neat little map. So born here, passed away here, and that his father passed away when Frank was 53, and that he himself died when he was 82. And the more information that you add to the tree, and the more people you add to the tree, the more it's going to flesh out this life story. But if you want just the basic facts, you can also get that as well. Here's all of the possible marriage records, but there's a lot of those. We can go through here. These are the sources which are really important to have when you're doing genealogy, because again, the information can come from anywhere. And then we got the parents, and we can add spouse and family members here. So I know that this is a very quick intro to genealogy. It can be a little bit intimidating, but if you just start with the basics and start with what you know and the easy stuff, Ancestry will help you from there, and it'll help you grow your trees. To the best of your ability, make sure that you use multiple documents. So like if we go into hints here, if you can verify for instance, his date of birth, especially for folks who have been born 100 years or more ago, sometimes that can get a little tricky. Make sure we're going to skip all those photos again because we don't need his photos at the moment. Make sure you try to get as many sources to back up that same information as possible. So maybe you use the Social Security Index and a birth certificate and a census. Maybe stack as many primary documents as possible, so that way you know that your dates are accurate. And then you can also use, sorry, got hiccups. You can also use that information to then expand to the correct family members from there. It's a little bit trickier for women because women tend to change their names, or in a lot of cases have, and then they also are not as often property owners in past years. So that can make it a little trickier to find records for them, but not impossible. Just keep digging. And and military service also. Men can be easier to find through their military service, through draft cards and things like that. So all of these documents, if they are public record, like census and things, and Ancestry has added them themselves, then that's public, so you won't be able to make that private. But it means it's accessible for you, and you don't have to actually go hunting for it, which is great. But anything that you want to add, you have the option to make private. And what else is important information? Yeah, it's a really fun project, especially while you're in quarantine. This is a great opportunity to go in and dig through the life of some of your family and your ancestors, and to get a tree ready for your kids, because this may be something that they are interested in as well, or your grandkids. So I'll show you one last time what my tree looks like. Oops, I was using the other version, so that you can know what yours will look like as it grows. And you've got photos in here, which are always really cool because you can see family resemblance, or you can watch the way that names change, especially as folks as they immigrate. A lot of times their names will change, even just because somebody wrote it down wrong at some point. So it's kind of a cool dive into history, and I hope that you guys will do it. If you are interested, I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. If you're interested, then we can do a part 2 and dive a little bit deeper, because Ancestry is a very deep hole and you can get lost in it pretty easily, and there is so much information available, just endless amounts of information. So if you're interested in part 2, let me know and we'll do another video. But for the meantime, I hope that at least gets you started, and I hope that you find it fun and beneficial. and a neat way to spend a couple hours. So have a great day, everyone. We will be back on Monday. So happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend.